Happy Friday. Today we are going to read chapter 2 of I Survived the Shark Attacks of 1916. And as we read, we're going to talk a little bit about vocab, and we're going to start being introduced to some of the characters. So, we'll get started. Right, yesterday we read about the shark attacks that were happening in New Jersey in 1916, and then we were introduced to Chet, who was swimming in the creek and saw a shark. And now we're going back in time a little bit. We're going 9 days earlier. So chapter 2, 9 days earlier on July 3rd, 1916, 9 a.m. at the Elm Hills Diner. The Monday morning breakfast rush at the Elm Hills Diner was finally over. Chet's feet ached. He was covered in syrup, donut crumbs, and bacon grease. His curly red hair was damp with sweat, but he was surprisingly happy. Uncle Jerry was paying him a fortune to help out at his diner this summer. 15 cents a day. That doesn't sound like very much to us, but we know in 1916, money was not worth as much as it is today, so it was a lot back then. Chet liked being surrounded by familiar faces and hearing folks calling out his name while he worked. Best of all, he was finally making some friends, his first since he came to live with Uncle Jerry last January. He was staying here for the year, while Mama and Papa were in California on business. Chet was wiping down the counter when the front door banged open. Sorry. He smiled when he saw Dewey, Sid, and Monty rushing toward him. They came in every morning on their way to work at the tile factory. Chet had seen them at school, the loud boys who were always talking about baseball, but he hadn't gotten to know them until this summer. "Did you hear?" Dewey said, his freckly cheeks red with excitement. "You won't believe it," said Monty, whose spectacles were fogged up from the humidity. Spectacles are glasses. "Let me tell him," said Sid, pushing his friends aside. He was the shortest of the three, and always in charge. "It was a shark." And then they all started talking at once. "A shark attack! It was huge! Bit off a man's leg! There was blood everywhere! The man is dead! It happened right in Beach Haven," said Monty. Beach Haven was about 70 miles south of Elm Hills, right on the Atlantic Ocean. Chet had heard about the fine hotels there and the people who swam in the ocean in their fancy bathing costumes. But he'd never heard of any shark attacks. Uncle Jerry appeared from the kitchen, his bright blue eyes shining and his thick, dark hair neatly combed back. The guys always stood a little straighter when they saw Chet's uncle. He'd been a baseball legend growing up here in Elm Hills. He could have gone pro, but he'd hurt his knee sliding home in a championship game. The team won, and Uncle Jerry could never play again. He still limped a little after a long day of work. "What's this about a shark?" he said as he passed out cinnamon donuts to each of the boys. "You fellas aren't trying to fool us, are you?" Chet knew the guys loved to pull pranks. On the last day of school, they'd put a frog in Minnie Martson's lunch pail. She was the prettiest girl in school, but she'd been so mad her face turned an ugly shade of purple. "We're not fooling," Monty said, pulling a rumpled piece of newsprint from his trouser pocket. "Look at this," he said. He handed it to Chet. It was from the New Jersey Herald. The hair on the back of Chet's neck stood up as he read the story. Uncle Jerry read it over his shoulder. "Killer shark attacks swimmer, July 2nd, 1916, Beach Haven, New Jersey. Charles Vincent, 25, was attacked by a large shark Saturday, July 1st, while swimming in chest-deep water. He and his family were vacationing at the luxurious Ingleside Hotel." Ooh, luxurious. We've had that word before. Means fancy, remember? "Mr. Vincent, known by all as a man of exceptional charm and great promise, was swimming with a dog when the attack occurred. The beach was filled with fashionable ladies and gentlemen enjoying the early evening breezes when panicked shouts suddenly echoed through the air. A large black fin could be seen swimming toward Mr. Vincent. Onlookers screamed warnings, but it was too late. The shark brutally attacked the young man, who struggled to swim to shore. A lifeguard and 2 men rushed to his aid and finally managed to free him from the water, but he died a short time later of his injuries. This is the first fatal shark attack on a human ever recorded on the northeastern shore of the United States. Uncle Jerry laughed. Chet stared at him. His uncle was tough, but did he really think a man getting ripped apart by a shark was funny? Boys, that article is a hoax, Uncle Jerry said. What do we think that word hoax means? Let's keep reading and see if we find any context clues. A shark will not attack a human. It's a proven fact. Haven't you ever heard of Mr. Herman Ulrichs? Okay, so Uncle Jerry laughs at the article and says that a shark will not attack a human, so a hoax must be something that is not real. It's fake, since the article is saying that the shark did attack. None of them had. The guy was a millionaire, Uncle Jerry said. Owned a big shipping company. One day, let's see, I think it was about 25 years ago, this gent was out on his yacht with his rich friends not far from New York City. There's another word, yacht. That's a weird word that I wanted to throw in there, mainly because of how it's spelled. A lot of you might know what a yacht is already, but did you know it was spelled like that? Would you have been able to pick out that word while you were reading? It's spelled Y-A-C-H-T, but you don't really pronounce the C or the H. Yacht. And a yacht is just a big boat. And what it says, they were out in the ocean and they sailed right into a big school of sharks. So those context clues would tell us it's a boat. So they sailed into a big school of sharks. The lady screamed, but Ulrichs put on his bathing costume and dove into the water, practically right on top of those sharks. Why did he do that? Sid said. To prove that the sharks wouldn't attack, Uncle Jerry said. He made a real commotion, splashing and kicking, even shouting at the sharks. And wouldn't you know, the sharks swam away. They were scared as rabbits. Commotion. If they're splashing and kicking, what is a commotion? It's a lot of noise. Good. Also, there's a simile. They were scared as rabbits. Sid glanced at Chet and smiled. And that's not all, said Uncle Jerry. Mr. Ulrichs offered a $500 reward to anyone who could come up with one case of a shark attacking a human on the northeastern coast of the United States. $500, said Dewey. That's crazy. Maybe, Uncle Jerry said, but nobody ever collected, because a shark simply will not attack a human. That cherry pie over there is more likely to attack you than a shark is. They all laughed. We know that's not true now. But then a gravelly voice spoke up from the end of the counter. You got it wrong. Some sharks are killers. It was Captain Wilson, who came into the diner every day for breakfast. A long time ago, he had been a whaling ship captain, but now he puttered around the creek in his broken-down motorboat. Usually he had a dazed look in his eyes, like he wasn't sure where he was. But now the captain's eyes were sharp. You've seen some sharks, Cap? Uncle Jerry said, refilling the captain's coffee cup. Seen one, the captain said. A white shark almost bit me right in two. That so? Uncle Jerry said, winking at Chet. I don't want to scare you lads, the captain said. Please, sir, Monty said. Nothing scares us. We can take it, Sid insisted. Chet realized with a happy jolt that the we included him. Uncle Jerry went back into the kitchen, shaking his head. All right, then, the captain said, looking around the empty diner. But gather close, and don't scream too loud. I don't want to upset the other customers. That's the end of chapter 2. I wonder what Captain's story is going to be. We'll find out Monday. All right, so we're still getting into the story. We don't have a lot of background information yet, but we learned some things about Chet today. So what did we learn about Chet? Pause it for a second if you need to and think about it. What did we learn about Chet today? Not too much yet. We don't necessarily have a lot of character traits yet, but we did learn some facts about him. So one thing we learned is that he came to live with his Uncle Jerry in January because his mom and dad are on a trip. So he came to live with Uncle Jerry. What else did we learn about him? He's working at the diner. this summer. His uncle's diner. And then there was one thing that is going to give us some clues about maybe some character traits that we're getting ready to learn. But at the end of the chapter right here, he said, Chet realized with a happy jolt that the we included him. So when Monty, Dewey, and Sid were talking, they said we. And Chet realized that the we was part of him. So that tells us that he is happy that he's doing what? Making friends. So he's just now, it's summer now, and he's just now starting to make friends. So we know that he is feeling good about that because of that quote right there. He realized with a happy jolt that the we included him. And we're going to need to remember that as we read further because that's going to be an important part of his character, his friendships with these guys, okay? All right, so I know this is not super into the books in the 5th grade standards yet, but we'll get there as we read more. We're going to have to kind of get into the book a little bit first, but next week we'll get into some more of the actual 5th grade standards, but we had some good vocab, so try to add those words to your vocab. Maybe try to use them in a sentence today with your parents, okay? All right, guys. I will see you on Monday. Have a great weekend.